Military installations are the backbone of our military's readiness. Among many other functions, they are the locations where we develop, test, and maintain equipment, vehicles, and munitions, where we base offensive and defensive systems, and where service members work, train, and very often live. Ensuring that our military installations and the facilities on them are resilient is absolutely critical. Today we'll focus on climate resilience, and namely the ability of installations to prepare for or minimize the effects of extreme weather events and other climate-related disruptions. While DoD infrastructure funding and climate resilience needs cut across several DoD accounts, this subcommittee hearing is particularly framed around military construction funding. We need to understand how to appropriate limited funding and must be confident that DoD is building to the latest engineering standards, appropriately incorporating resiliency, and constructing facilities that most effectively decrease our vulnerabilities. While climate threats are not new, the intensity and the frequency of weather events has caused significant destruction to installations in recent years. We have spent more than $8.5 billion in military construction funding to rebuild facilities damaged by a half dozen natural disasters since 2018. By contrast, in the previous 2 decades, in the previous 20 years, we had collectively spent roughly $2.4 billion for the same purposes, more than 70% of which was attributable to just one storm, Hurricane Katrina, back in 2005. Now, beyond the fiscal cost, there are also operational impacts. In the most prominent recent examples, we saw the destruction of Tyndall Air Force Base in Florida following Hurricane Michael, which caused the displacement of F-22s from the 325th Fighter Wing, as well as the storm surge and flooding destroying or rendering inoperable hundreds of buildings at Camp Lejeune, the East Coast Marine Corps Hub, and Offutt Air Force Base, home to STRATCOM. It is not just coastal and riverine installations that face threats from climate change. Drought, desertification, and permafrost thaw affect bases in many other parts of the country. In my home state of New Mexico, we're seeing more extreme fires, longer droughts, drier summers, and more severe floods when it finally does rain. Energy demand and associated infrastructure is also critical to consider, and we need to ensure reliable access to energy using proven technology such as on-site battery storage and microgrids. Recognizing the need to invest in climate resilience, the committee has provided DoD with funding targeted for this purpose. We regularly increase funding for the Energy Resilience and Conservation Investment Program, or ERCIP, and in the past 2 years have appropriated $90 million in planning and design funds specifically for military installation resilience. I look forward to hearing from the witnesses about how this funding helps their services develop tools, conduct climate assessments, update building codes, and plan, design, and construct projects to improve climate resilience, and any additional funding that is needed to accelerate that work. While DoD has taken steps such as updating building codes and developing the recently released DoD Climate Assessment Tool, it has also handicapped itself. DoD regularly defers investment in infrastructure, and within military construction accounts, prioritizes new platforms over recapitalization of existing vulnerable facilities. As of last month, DoD had not yet issued guidance adding a military installation resilience component to installation master plans. We have lists of the most vulnerable installations for each service, but it is not clear how that information is being used in planning and programming. Deferring investment in the resilience of military installations as climate risks become more acute and more frequent is certain to exacerbate financial and operational strains across the Department of Defense. We know that many of these facilities destroyed by natural disasters were decades old, and that newer facilities have a greater survival rate. I would argue that rather than just replacing facilities as they get destroyed, we need to target investment into constructing facilities that either directly improve resilience or mitigate risks at the most vulnerable installations. I look forward to hearing from our witnesses today about how we can best thread that needle